We're going to rank every single Eminem album, 11 of them. We haven't included Infinite as it is not on streaming services, but there's still 11 to go through. So should we jump straight into things? Tim is a massive Eminem fan. You can see the hoodie. So what is his worst album, Tim?
For me, I'm coming in at number 11, the worst album, Revival. It is just by far the most lackluster album that M's released, unfortunately. There are some tracks on there that I enjoy, not enough to bring it any higher than that.
My number 11 is also Revival. This was a real change in direction for Eminem for me. It was the start of him trying to be a little bit more pop-focused, and there is a couple songs on here that I don't hate, but all of those are with features. It's just not much content to dive into. It doesn't feel like the same artist.
There is some deep tracks like Walk on Water, but overall, a lot of the tracks really lacked the replay value that M brings with most of his work, and I'd say that the main issue with this album is the inconsistency with the sound of it. Every track is a different track, a different sound. He's tried a different style. It's just all over the place, and that's why it's last.
We'll move on to number 10. I'll give my number 10 first, and it is his latest project, The Death of Slim Shady. This came out very recently, and I've already forgotten it. The only good track, or big track, and I would potentially say good, is effectively a remaster. It's just not a great album.
I mean, I'm gonna try and restrain my thoughts on your thoughts because we could go on forever about that. For The Death of Slim Shady, I've got it higher up than that. My number 10 is Recovery, which a lot of people will be pretty upset with. But for me, it kind of was the shift towards pop rap. It was his comeback, and it felt like it was made in a way to be played on the radio. Something about it never really resonated that well with me. And whilst I'm saying this, I do enjoy the album. I want to clear that up. All of these albums, I think, are great. Very difficult for me to rank them. Recovery comes in at number 10, mostly because tracks like Not Afraid and Love the Way You Lie, they're just so overplayed and so in your brain. You know what I mean?
Not Afraid is a fantastic song, but we'll come on to that.
It's all right, but the amount that these songs got played, the amount that it was all just shoved down your throat, it just felt, I don't know, something about it really didn't resonate with me.
Well, we'll move on to number 9. What have you got there, Tim? What's better than Recovery?
The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. That's coming in at number 9 for me. Like you're saying, his most recently released album, the concept of it was pretty cool. I do like it when Shady comes with a concept album, as we'll find as we go through this list. Some solid tracks on there like Houdini and Toby, but overall, definitely far from his best work. And whilst it's nostalgic to an extent, didn't quite bring anything truly groundbreaking. It felt like he was playing it safe, going with styles that he's done before. Yeah, not the best.
Number 9 for me is Music to Be Murdered By. And it's quite difficult because there is so much content here, especially if you take into consideration kind of both parts of it. It's really, really long. Definitely overstays its welcome. There's a few tracks in here which are okay. I quite like Nat, but then when you look back at that now, and he's mentioning Trump and COVID and stuff like that, it just doesn't stand the test of time very well. Godzilla's pretty good as well. I liked that track. But overall, with both parts considered, it's a 2-hour album, and I would never want to spend 2 hours listening to that.
It's a 2-hour album of greatness is what you're saying there, right? That's what you mean.
It's horrid.
You're saying that the 2-hour runtime is a positive, right?
There's no way that you have this much higher. If this isn't your next album, I'll be shocked.
Oh, my number 8, we're coming in with Encore, which is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and I don't care. This was a noticeable drop in quality from his initial albums. This was released in 2004, and what are you going to say here?
There is no way that you're saying Encore is worse than Music to Be Murdered By.
I am, and I stand by it. I don't care. There's Mockingbird and Like Toy Soldiers, which are great tracks, but the other tracks feel somewhat lazy. There's not a whole lot going on. There's not many other standout tracks other than those two, and the drug issues at the time that he was going through kind of affected the cohesion of the album as a whole. It really doesn't flow that well. Whereas what you're talking about, Music to Be Murdered By, before you come in and start throwing shade there, the cohesion on that album was a lot better. The playthrough was fantastic. The way that it worked as an album, great. I'll hear nothing else. Encore, number 8.
There's a few points to dive into there. First of all, on the playthrough been fantastic for Music to be Murdered by, it plays through, but it's a very boring and dragged out playthrough.
No, it's not.
And you're comparing here, just from what you said, you're comparing Encore to the Slim Shady and Marshall Mathers LP. You're saying, oh, it was a step down. It's still a big step up in comparison to these albums.
When he came back after 2017, after Revival, that was a big flop. The albums after that were not that weak. People just think they're weak because of Revival going off the back of that. Everyone, oh, M's lost it. I'm just going to disregard these newer projects. Not at all. M has not lost that pen game.
Oh, you are super glazing. I'm going to come in.
What do you mean glazing? If anything, if I was glazing, Encore would be higher.
You need to fix up, mate. You just say, oh no, his recent stuff's still good. I swear. It's definitely not as good as Encore. So now I'm coming in with my number 8, which I think you might be slightly upset with, and that is Relapse.
Criminal, not the track, putting the album that low.
Similar again. Including both discs, this is a 2-hour project. There are so many songs on here that you would never want to go back and re-listen to. At the same time, right, there's some fantastic tracks. Bagpipes from Baghdad is great. Crack a Bottle is great. Really liked Forever, but notice how 2 of those are reliant on features as well. As a solo M project, there's not a lot of great solo stuff in here.
Boo, boo. What a great concept album that is. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's way higher than you've put it there. I think that's really unfair to put it there.
What have you got at number 7 then, Tim?
My number 7 is Music to be Murdered by.
So it's only one place above what you were saying about Encore.
Yeah.
And you were defending it that ferociously.
Yeah, because there's so many other albums that are way better. I'm just saying that I think it's a better album than Encore. I mean,
why?
That's fine. Why? Because it's a mix of everything that makes Eminem great. With the 2-hour runtime, we've got like a flavor of every genre of Eminem that he's ever like gone in the past. And I think it's great. I think there's a lot of craftsmanship throughout the album. The actual run of the album, the flow of the album, everything about it's great. Godzilla shows that man still has the pen game that everybody thought that he'd lost. It just shows that he never lost that knack. He was just trying different things. This album, he locked back in, he locked himself away, he made a fantastic album, he followed it up with a side B that was full with bangers that are equal to the first side. Great album.
There's no way it deserves that much hype, man. I'm sorry, yeah, but there is no way that anyone can be this positive about Music to be Murdered by. You know what this is?
You just don't like it. You just don't like it.
Let me speak. The difference between me and you on this is you're that much of a fan, which is fine, that you find joy in even the most mid of Eminem tracks because you like the concept, you just like hearing his little tongue twister lines or whatever. Whereas for me, who's a fan, but not like a super fan, I'm just like, oh, this is a bit mid.
Okay, I'm going to say this now. I can completely understand your rankings looking at it from an unbiased perspective. I'm heavily biased in terms of what I like. You know
the law.
No, but it's not even that. It's my personal preference with Eminem tracks and what I like more than others. And the reason Encore's lower down is because it just doesn't hit that level for me. Music to be Murdered by is full with so much content that it just can't
but this
be
is
that
what I'm
low.
saying. You're just happy with the amount of content rather than the quality of the content.
It's great quality, though. That's my point. Yeah.
We'll go on. I'll come in with my number 7, which is Kamikaze. So when Kamikaze first came out, I actually really enjoyed it and I listened to it quite a lot. But out of every Eminem project, I feel like this is the one where it hasn't stood the test of time. There's a lot of kind of sly disses in there and moments where he's taking shots at other people, which when I listened to it for the first time, I was like, this is fun, this is great. But now I'm like, oh, who cares about those little bits of beef and stuff anymore? Some good features in there. I can't remember what it's called, but the track with Joyner Lucas is fantastic. Moments are good. Production is good. Number 7, obviously it's not right down at number 11. I enjoyed moments of it, but just as a project, it was,
You know what? I will agree with you on that and the takes that you're giving on it. Me personally, I've got Kamikaze higher. I enjoyed the album for what it was. There was a lot of bars spat on that it kind of brought back his anger, but I won't harken it too much.
The disses on Kamikaze kind of reminded me of Eminem's beef with Machine Gun Kelly. And I actually had a more broad question for you because this album was released in 2018, as was Kill Shot. And the question is, do you think Eminem has released a better solo song than Kill Shot since its release?
What about Godzilla?
Do you think that's better than Killshot?
I mean, in terms of being a song that I would listen to, I put Killshot on more than I put Godzilla on, but that's just because I love the pen game that M's got on Killshot. But in terms of a song itself, as in something that I would say to somebody that isn't perhaps an Eminem fan, what song would I get him to listen to? I would put Godzilla over Killshot every time.
I just think that
Killshot's very precise, it's very targeted, and if you don't really understand who the person is he's dissing, you wouldn't understand the track.
I just think it's a sad state of affairs when it's actually a questionable debate whether Eminem's best song in the last 7 years is a diss track, because his work since that point has just been going downhill.
And you don't think in 7 years' time people won't be saying the same thing about Kendrick Lamar with Not Like Us?
I think they will, but his even recent album has some big bangers on that everyone's still going to be talking about. Whereas Eminem, how often do you hear someone bring up Godzilla genuinely in the rap community?
All right.
And I'm not saying that as a full diss.
I know. Yeah.
Your turn, Tim. What's up next?
My number 6. Oh, I haven't just done this to be controversial, by the way. This is just how I feel. And I was going to maybe move some stuff around to be like, oh, people won't think that's right, but I don't care. I'm going to say it with my whole chest. The Slim Shady LP is coming in at number 6.
I'm so mad. Nah, I'm sorry, right? But having Encore and the Slim Shady LP out of Eminem's top 5 albums is not on. That no one believes that. I don't even think you believe that.
I do strongly believe that. And the reason I believe it is unfortunate. And I think it's because I got into Eminem's music at a later date. So I resonate more with albums from 2013 onwards. So Marshall Mathers LP2 was the first real Eminem project where I properly dove in and properly got into Eminem as an artist. And going forwards from there, I've been excited for every release. I've been there for the release cycle, the album launches, everyone getting hyped for it, the promotion for the projects, the midnight drops out of nowhere.
You're just lending into my point more and more, though. You're not looking at this in a way of the actual content of the album. It's more your excitement in the moment of it coming out.
No, it's how I feel about the projects as a whole. The Slim Shady LP, whilst I love it, like I say, I love every single album that Eminem's released. I just think for me, it doesn't quite hit the heights. It's not quite the Eminem style that I want him to be. Although it did introduce the Slim Shady persona, which without he wouldn't have been able to create half the projects after this project. Songs like My Name Is and Guilty Conscience are absolutely phenomenal. So for this to not be in the top 5 is somewhat criminal of me to do, but it's my personal preference. So if you don't like it, fuck off.
That angry spat there proves everything that you need to know. I'll come in with number 6 for me, which is Recovery. One that you had much lower down. I think, actually, I will admit there's a slight bit of bias here for me, because this came out when I must have been about 12 or something, and the tracks were everywhere. I really like them. But unlike you, I actually think Not Afraid and specifically Love the Way You Lie are fantastic tracks in and of their own right. Not just because they did well commercially, but especially Love the Way You Lie. Having Rihanna and Eminem work together on that track, a great little storyteller. I thought it was fantastic. It does overstay its welcome a little bit at 1 hour and 17 minutes long. As I've said for a lot of these projects, I feel M kind of buffs them out with mid-tracks for no apparent reason. But I really liked Recovery, and it has that reminiscent value for me.
The thing is with Recovery, there is some bangers on there. Like you've got underrated ones like WTP and Untitled is great, and Spacebound, for example. These are all great tracks. I do love them. But songs like Love the Way You Lie and all these, I just don't like them.
See, I like them for the opposite reason to why the same reason you dislike them. Because they were played so much, it reminds me of being young, but because they were played so much, you dislike them. So we'll go on. Tim, what have you got at number 5?
My number 5 is Kamikaze. This was the album that brought back Angry Eminem. We missed this in Revival. Revival was just a huge ass flop, and M said, you know what? Fuck all these haters. I'm going to come back with pen game that rivals nobody, and I'm just going to destroy everything. I'm going to fire shots in every direction, see what happens, and man, did he deliver. He just delivered everything on this project.
I can't lie, at this point, I expected better from you. I feel like I'm watching the ramblings of a madman. I can't even lie. Having Kamikaze above Encore and the Slim Shady LP, it's not correct, objectively.
Okay,
I know music is on opinion, etc., etc. But I think if you went and re-listened to that in full and then listened to the Slim Shady LP in full and Encore, you would change your mind, surely.
Not at all. You don't think I've listened to every single one of these albums tens, if not hundreds of times?
It just doesn't add up. Kamikaze is so of its moment and of its era. The replayability of that album has been lost within 2 years of it coming out.
Kamikaze, from top to bottom, I think I could probably spit every verse on that track. On that album, sorry.
That doesn't mean that
phenomenal.
it's better.
No, but for me, this is a personal opinion. You're coming at me like music is objectively, this is best and this is worse. That's not how music works.
No,
it's not how preferences
Yeah, but
work.
some things are just true. It's like me trying to
Some
say...
things are just true.
It's like me trying to say Leeds United are better than Real Madrid. Obviously, they're not. I like them more, but they're just not.
That's not at all a comparison that you can make between these. But we'll move on. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Encore. I really like it. I think in that 3, it's after Eminem's goated period. You know what I mean? But it was still very good. It felt like old school Eminem was still in there. As you mentioned earlier, there's some great tracks on there, like Toy Soldiers, Mockingbird. A lot of the album, I would agree, it isn't as good as MMLP or the Slim Shady LP, obviously, as it's below them in my list. But some good moments, and it creates a run of albums for me that could be up there with some of the best runs in rap album history.
Yeah, no, I can't argue that at all. I think that's a very solid point to have.
Well, Tim, what do you have at number 4?
My number 4, I'm going to come in with The Eminem Show. Released in 2002. This is a more personal, polished project covering like fame, politics, family, hits like Without Me, songs like that. They're just absolutely great.
I'm enjoying this way more than I should be because I'm wondering what the fuck you're going to have in your top 3 at this point. It's actually really confusing me. But I'll come in with number 4. For me, it is the Marshall Mathers LP 2. This, for me, is Eminem's last great project. It's the last time he released something which I think was truly groundbreaking and really showed him at the peak of his powers. And the sad thing about it is, it was 12 years ago now. I'm not saying there's not good moments from his other albums. From what I've said in the rest of this video, you will know that there's some moments I enjoy. But this had some cool tests on there. I always really liked Berserk, despite the fact most people probably hate it. For me, it was a decent track. Obviously, Rap God really showed Eminem's lyrical ability and his rap ability. Just everything about that track is insane. The lyricism, the speed at which he delivers that one verse at the time, that was viral, that was everywhere. So for me, MMLP2, the theme of the album as well. Cool to see him revisit Marshall Mathers LP after the first one, which is obviously the number 1 stonker. So Tim, what have you got at number 3?
My number 3 is MMLP2. Oh, what an album. This was the album that got me hooked on Eminem. Everything about this album is exactly what I want Eminem to be, which is why my whole list is skewed as it is, because this was the Eminem that I really bonded with. So prior stuff, it was difficult for me to kind of, change my mindset on it because his flow was different back then. The angle was still there, but the way that he delivers bars now, a lot of people say is worse than he used to. In my opinion, I somewhat prefer it. Controversial, I know, but I do think that some of the lyrics that he comes with now, the way that he delivers bar, he's always trying to better himself. And I just really enjoy the words that he uses in his tracks, because you can listen to an Eminem song 50 times, and on the 51st time you finally go, oh, that's what the fuck he's talking about. That's what he means. And this album is stock full of those kind of like tricks, and he's taking you one way, then he comes back the other way. And like you were saying with Rap God and The Monster, for example, not really a huge fan of that, but the track itself is huge. I think this was a great album.
That was overplayed massively as well, but I don't mind it.
Yes, yeah, the track itself. But this also, on the deluxe version, featured what I think is the only collaboration between Eminem and Kendrick Lamar on Love Game, which that track, I listened to that track before I listened to Kendrick Lamar. Didn't really know who the feature was on it, but I knew that I loved the feature. So then going forwards, learning who Kendrick Lamar was, it was one of those moments where you go back and go, oh, I already like this artist. No wonder I like his other stuff. I already like him without knowing who he is. So yeah, Marshall Mathers LP2 in at number 3. What have you got?
Number 3 for me is The Eminem Show. This is the end of that great trilogy of rap albums, and I think it was still M at the peak of his powers. I feel this isn't mentioned as much as it should be by a lot of people in the rap community. There's some great, great songs on here. Weirdly enough, one of my favourites, an all-time classic for me, is Superman. So stupid, so fun. The lyrics are just absolutely wild throughout that track. I love it. But then we've got Without Me. I think Business really shows the best of the production abilities that were on offer. Fantastic track there. And really, I don't really have much more to say. I think this album speaks for itself in many ways. As I say, when Eminem and Dre were working together in this period, everything was like gold.
Yeah, everything that Dre touches turns to gold anyway, apart from the most recent project with Snoop Dogg, which he might have lost his touch slightly, but we'll move on to my number 2 album, which is Relapse. Oh my good God, what an album this is. What's that face? What is that face? What's up with you?
Oh man, I don't even know what to say at this point, brother.
The dark horrorcore themed album, it just showcased insane rhyme schemes. Bro put on an accent for the entire album so that he could rhyme words that he'd never rhymed before in ways that weren't possible if you delivered it without an accent. And for a rapper to do that for an entire project and for it to actually be listenable, for people to bond with it, for people to think it's a good album, that shows like another level of like skill, because nobody else is doing that. Who else has done that in the rap game?
When you're defending an album by saying he put on an accent and at least it was listenable, and having it at number 2
I'm not
is
defending
crazy,
the album.
bro.
No. There's songs like 3 AM on there. There's Beautiful. There's so many songs that like really showcase his technical ability. And technical Eminem is my favorite part of Eminem. When he gets really, really technical, the jokiness of this album, the insanity of this album with tracks like Insane, everything about it is fantastic. And this is like almost peak Eminem for me. Everything about this album is fantastic. I really love it. And I think it's an underrated release, but later on in its lifespan, it got a lot more credit that it deserved. When it was first released, people were like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Later down the line, people went, oh, that's what the fuck that guy was doing.
I wouldn't go as far to say, what is this guy doing? I obviously think there's some decent moments on there, but I am truly shocked that you've got this at number 2. Like, as a massive fan of Eminem as well, this has really surprised me. I'm actually, I don't have any more insults to throw at you because this is just
I wish you'd stop fucking insulting my opinion,
it's just
bro.
So,
that's my opinion.
It's just so abhorrent and disgusting that we need to move on to...
Yeah, Relapse is exactly that, and that is why I love it so much. Nobody was pushing those boundaries. Nobody was throwing accents at it. Nobody was doing anything that M was doing on this album. Absolutely insane. It worked so well. Great album, great lyrics, great pen game, great bars, great songs, great beats.
Bro, if you keep talking, it doesn't help.
It does.
It doesn't help. If you keep talking, it does not help.
Than I have already. I think it's a fantastic album. What is your number 2, Joe?
My number 2 is a valid number 2 and one that could actually be number 1 and probably will be for most people in the Marshall Mathers LP. Fantastic album.
What? Don't
even try coming at me now.
That's not your number 1, though.
No, it's not.
So that I know which one's at your number 1 then, and you are wrong, my friend.
Yeah, well, of course, because you didn't even have it in the top 5, which is just truly baffling. But some of Eminem's biggest hits, Slim Shady, Stan is maybe my favourite Eminem song. I absolutely love it. Unreal little storytelling track. I can have no complaints with that. The production was fantastic. One of the best-selling rap albums of all time for a very good reason. I don't really have anything bad to say about the Marshall Mathers LP. Similar to you with some, I just don't have as much of a personal relationship with it as I do with my number 1. But Tim, what have you got at number 1?
The Marshall Mathers LP has to be number 1. It is easily Eminem's best album. It's when he was at his peak. It's raw. There's emotion throughout. The storytelling is unparalleled. Nobody else has ever reached that level of storytelling in rap, in my opinion. The controversy that came with that album, whew, oh my good God. We've done a review of this album in full and we go into depth with every track and just how crazy some of the lyrics were, considering the fact that this was released in the year 2000. Nobody was bringing this kind of stuff. You got iconic tracks like you were saying, Stan, The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am. It just defined 2000s in terms of rap, and I don't think that there's any other album in Eminem's discography that quite reaches the height of MMLP.
In strange ways, I kind of agree, but for me, and go watch that full video as well, by the way, at the end it will be linked. Hit like and subscribe as well. The second half of the album just really kind of died off a bit. It was still great music. I'm not saying that it died off as in it was bad. I'm saying it wasn't anywhere near as good as the first half.
And this guy's giving me shit for my opinion.
The thing is,
damn.
It doesn't matter what you say at this point, brother. I am completely lost with you. But I'll go on to my number one, which you somehow had outside the top 5 in the Slim Shady LP. I absolutely love this project. This was Eminem's real introduction to the world. We mentioned at the start of this video, we haven't included Infinite because it's not even available everywhere. But this propelled Eminem to worldwide fame. It let us know who Slim Shady was and that character and all the different quirks and horrible songs and great songs. First album working with Dr. Dre, the production was off the charts. I just love this album and everything about it.
I think MMLP actually launched him to the world, personally. I think that's what then took him to the next level. But I see what you're saying. It took a lot in me to put SSLP as low down as I did. But for me, it just doesn't reach those heights, man. Something about it just does not click with me.
It was just fun. There was some fun tracks in there, mixed in with some unbelievable rap ability. I don't have much more to say about it other than it was fantastic, and it was the building ground for Eminem. That was the point where Dr. Dre started working with him, decided, yeah, this guy is going to be the next big thing. Let me hop on and produce this album, and I think that says everything you need to know about it.
So you can put SSLP at number 1 because it's fun. In your opinion, it's fun, right? So why can't I put Relapse?
Well, no, I didn't just say it was fun. I said some tracks are fun. Some tracks show his unbelievable rap ability, and it was clearly when he really took a step to that next level.
No more to say to you, friend. We'll just move on from that.
Oh, well, that's it. That's the end of the list. I think you've had an absolutely horrible time with him, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
I had no horrible time at all. I really enjoyed putting this list together. I really had to sit down and figure out where I was going to put things. I knew putting certain albums lower down than I would expect them to be was something that I'd struggled to do, but I felt like if I wanted to be completely honest with myself, which I did with this list, with it being my favorite artist, I just had to be genuine in the albums that I enjoyed, and in that order is the album, in the way that if I was to listen to projects or suggest projects to people, this would be the way that I would do it personally.
Well, fair enough. I think we've both had some more controversial takes. Me having Slim Shady top, having Recovery so high. You know, people won't like a lot of the takes here.
Me and my entire list.
I can't point out every single one of yours.
Need your fucking camera there, bro.
Bro's that angry that he's just attacking my camera now. So we'll call it there. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave your Eminem album rankings in the comments. I'm intrigued to see if there's anyone on earth that agrees with Tim.
There's gotta be somebody out there there's at least people out there that will think Relapse is in the top 3. That's all I'm gonna say. But for me, this is honest. I don't care. Fuck it. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe too. Thank you. Goodbye.